All right, what's going on, guys? It's Spencer back with another video here. This is going to be a different video than stuff that I've done in the past. I mean, I've done the standard old workout video, I've done race vlogs and what have you, but I've never reacted to one of my own races. So I talked about this a little bit, I think, in the Unattached podcast that I was going to do this. And I mentioned that I only have a couple of races that I can react to that are actually on film and available to me. One of those is being the regional cross country championship, and the other is the one that we're watching today. And as a bonus, I decided to get one of the all conference performers from this race, a really good friend of mine, Austin. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Glad to be here.
So, what do you remember, like, the week of this race going in? Because this is the 2019 Ohio Athletic Conference 10,000 meter championship. What do you remember from that week?
I remember coming into this race feeling pretty confident because, obviously you can't always focus on seed times going in, but I believe coming into the race, I had the fastest seed time by like 30 some seconds. And I think that was just kind of like a confidence going in, like saying, basically just telling myself like, hey, I have a real good shot to win this title this time. So I think the confidence, at least for the 10K, was actually pretty high that I could win the race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember, I don't know if you remember this as much as I do, but our buddy Max, who is on the rail at the start line, he's hip number one because, random seating and whatnot. But he's got the rail. He's number one. And I remember texting him like Tuesday or Wednesday of that week. And I'm like, so what do you think's going to happen? What do you guys have planned in a way? And he told me that they were going to take it out fairly hard, not super hard, not like Otterbein does in cross country, because whenever I've seen them race, they've gone out extremely hard, and it's like every single one of them. But Max is like, yeah, we're going to take it out fairly hard, not like balls to the wall, but, pretty close to where we'll have something left in the second half. I don't know if I remember, I don't know if I texted you that directly, but I could have sworn I remember telling you something about that. Or did
Yeah,
we?
I think you might have texted me about it, and I remember talking to Max in person beforehand, and me and him would make jokes saying like, "Oh man, we can't let it come down to a kick. Like we got to make the race honest from the start." And both kind of as a joke, but in not so much a joke, but just saying it as a joke, but in reality just being like, yeah, we got to just make it honest.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like given the conditions on the day, I think we made it about as honest as we possibly could.
Yeah, I mean, I think because on the starting line, just feeling like doing strides and warming up on the infield, you felt the wind and how strong the wind was, and you're kind of I think we're all thinking to ourselves like, man, like this is a little discouraging, honestly, like for setting a fast pace. Like it can still be done, but it's just like we're kind of rethinking things in our head, like, okay, maybe this we need to do a little bit of changing of the game plan, so to speak.
Right. Now, I remember being out on the warm-up. We were going down the road that runs pretty much adjacent to the stadium, and we were going away from the campus. I was like, we were probably about a mile into the warm-up because we made a turn on to the bike path that's over there. And one of my teammates, Andrew, who's in this race, he's up in the second waterfall. He looked at me and he asked, "Hey, Spencer, what are you going to do?" And I remember I just said one sentence, and I feel like this one sentence just kind of perfectly encapsulated my entire career. to this point, and I'm like, do whatever it takes to score, because I came in and I had on paper the 9th fastest seed time. So I wasn't even projected to score a single point. It was we weren't even supposed to get points in the 10K as a team. So with that being said, let's let the race do the talking, shall we, Austin?
Do it.
All right, so obviously it's like it's a big start line. There's 26 guys as the race goes off. And I didn't get a great jump off the line. I don't know what kind of jump you got off the line.
I think I actually, for this race, I had a pretty good start. I think because obviously you get on in the bend and you're kind of looking both directions, kind of like seeing where the guys are and who's getting out and stuff like that. So I think I actually got off the line pretty good in this race.
Yeah, because I've watched this back. I never was able to see where you were, but I always, because on that first waterfall, I think we were both on that first waterfall. I want to say in the moment, I think I saw you go to the front and I went like straight to the back. I don't know why I went straight to the back, or if that's like due to like getting off the line bad, which I think that's what the case was.
Mm-hmm.
But like that happens in a 25 lap race. That doesn't really matter. And you see us as we come by for the first time. I'm running on the outside of lane 1. Shocker, because I did that a lot. I don't know like how much you and I raced against each other directly on the track in college, but I always ran on the outside. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
So it's not something I actually noticed. Like I would have to go back, like with you specifically saying that, to watch the races. Now that you just told me that now.
Yeah, I swear, like I always ran on the outside, especially during indoor season. Like indoor season, like it was, especially on like our home track at Baldwin Wallace. It's so tight around the turns that like I struggled to run turns on the track. I struggled to run decently fast unless we went up to Michigan and ran at Hillsdale, because they have a 200-meter wide. Their 200-meter wide is oh man, that's a hell of a facility.
Heard a lot of good things about it, but I never actually ended up racing there.
So at this point, 800 down, year up in the front, I'm still sitting on the outside of lane 1. And I want to say there's a group of about like 20 of us strung out 2x2 essentially.
What did we pass through 800 in at that?
I want to say we passed through in about 231.
Okay.
I mean, because I've watched this race back a fair bit now, due to like the editing that I used this race for last year, and rewatching it now, and just having the video with me just like open and available to watch. I don't know if you have like a favorite race, but if I had to pick a favorite race, like this is it.
So this race was definitely fun. I definitely did have a lot of fun in the 5K the next day too, just because it was my favorite conditions. It was a light rain, and the pace was hot right from the gun in that race.
Yeah, I remember that. So here we're coming through 12, and I finally decided it's time for me to get up on your shoulder. This was probably like the most like calming part of the race, is when I ran up within the first mile just to get on your shoulder, just because I remember also telling myself in those first couple laps, I need to make this race as normal feeling as possible. And for me, because we've run a ton of miles together in the summer, that was just getting up on your shoulder.
I felt really bad too because as soon as you got up there, like my arm swings, my elbows kind of go like outward instead of straight back. So I feel like I kind of just elbowed you in the chest like all these times, and I kept like, I think I might have said under my breath like sorry like one time or the other, and it's just like I don't know if you heard it or not, but I was
no,
like,
you said it once. You said it once.
Probably should have said it more because I said it once, and I think I elbowed you probably like at least 10 times.
I mean, you like. That's why at this point, like, I was running off your shoulder. So through the mile, and I think we came through the mile in 5:07. That sounds about right, right? 5:07.
I would say so. I think the pace really started to slow after the first mile, I want to say.
Yeah, I want to say, I mean, obviously, like, we'll get to this point a little bit later, but I want to say we came through the 2 mile in 10:19 or 10:18. I think that's what it was. I have no idea. So it was like 5:07, 5:12.
Because I specifically remember coming through the first lap that, we got out pretty good in like a 71. And then I thought it was like 4 or 5 laps later. I came around I can't remember, I came around across the line and was going around the turn. And my coach, Brian, was on over there. And he was said like a 78 or a 79. I was like, geez, the pace slowed. But it's like when you hit that backstretch and run into that wall of wind, it's like there's not too much you could do because we still have like over 20 laps to go.
Yeah, and I feel like we kind of got in a rhythm of like 5:12, 5:13 for a while, which is why that like pack of about 13 currently is like there's just nobody moving. Because I mean, like it was you and I essentially dictating the pace of this race for the end of the first mile all the way up to about I want to say 3 miles is like the time that we spent up front. So that's a pretty solid portion of the race. We spent, I want to say, about 4.5K up at the front. And then another thing which we'll obviously touch on when we get to it is when that pack of like 13 to 15 guys splits into a pack of 10 and then a pack of 9 and then a pack of 7 and then a pack of 6 and then eventually it gets down to, I want to say, 3, and it's 3 for a while and then it became 2 and 1 in the later stages. But my favorite part was like watching like the evolution of this race, because I remember as we came through the finish, everything that was said for some reason. Like I can also hear when I rewatch the race, I can hear your dad, who is probably sitting closer to midfield or on the other side of the field. I can hear him yelling, "Come on, Austin!" And then I hear like, some of my teammates who are up the straightaway yelling, "Hey, come on, Spence!" Because our team camp was right on the turn of the home straight. And then obviously, like, I want to say behind the finish, there was like a sea of Heidelberg people.
I just remember crossing the line and then waiting for my roommate to cross because that was his first conference final ever, and I remember it was like his senior year or his 5th year, and he crossed the line, and I just kind of embraced him at that point. We kind of embraced each other at that point, like, hey, this is the last track season for Heidelberg, and it was just sweet feeling.
Yeah, I was gonna say I recorded this up to the near start of the women's 10K just so I can record all the reactions, because I think some of the reactions at the end are absolutely priceless.
Yeah, like, I mean, it was a great day in general that day. Just looking back on it now.
Yeah, and I was on like a steady progression all year. A couple weeks from this specific point, this race took place. I ran the second North Central meet. I keep forgetting what the second North Central meet is called, but
That
is that Keeler or is that another one?
no. The first one is Dr. Keeler.
Okay.
It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember the second one. But yeah, Dr. Keeler is the first one.
Dr. Keeler was the one that you ran.
Yes, me and Max ran Dr. Keeler.
I was going to say Max threw down a pretty saucy time at Keeler. Did he run what, like 31:20?
31:20.
That's what I thought.
We actually had a good race because actually in that race, they had some rabbits in there that were taking guys out at like 29:50. And then that chase pack was me, Max, and then Al Baldano, the runner-up, the North Central guy that was runner-up and crossed the previous fall. And then a few other pretty solid guys. So that like chase pack that we had was a pretty solid group that race.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we had a rabbit in my race as well, for the second North Central meet, which it was Gregory. That was it.
Yeah, dude, Gregory, Gregory.
I couldn't find the name for a minute. But yeah, so Gregory was the invite that I ran, and Dr. Keeler was the one that you ran. I want to say both times that we had really good conditions because the 10K was run at like 9 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
And I mean, for those of you who haven't been to Naperville low-key is a really phenomenal running community.
It's a mini track town in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
Like so I would say it's the D3 version of track town, USA.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So we just came through about 4K or 4.2K or something like that. And this is the point where I finally switched my position on that previous back straight. I went around you so I can get the rail, and then you went right back around me, and then I want to say it was Max came up and sat like right next to me. And I kind of started looking around at this point, and I'm like, okay, so they're getting ready to go pretty soon. It looks like 5 or 6K is when this race is really going to start moving, and I'm going to have to really hang on here.
Yeah, I mean, other than kind of you, just because you were on my shoulder, I wasn't really sure where anybody else was for most of this race, just because I was just kind of at the front up there and just kind of focused on just, getting each lap done. And I kind of had like that, that I was just kind of focused on, setting the pace. And so I really didn't know kind of like where everybody else was at this point.
Yeah, and I want to say this is the point of the race where the pack of 13 became a pack of 10. Because, like, you can still see some bunching in the back, but, like, it's a fairly, like, retainable pace for the 10 up front at this point in time. And I remember just feeling at ease, I guess, knowing that, like, I was still in a really good position, and then I was finally, like, off your shoulder, like, off of finally running on the outside of the lane. But I also remember thinking, like, in the back of my mind, when is this move going to be made? Because I knew you had probably 31:20 speed flat out. I knew Max had 31:20 speed flat out. I knew you guys were dummy fit coming in. And I was just like, okay, when is that move going to be made? I don't know if like you had an idea of like when you were going to make that move either, or if you were just waiting for it to come.
I think at this point, I was just kind of waiting to see when somebody else made a move, because I think around halfway, I gradually started to pick the pace up a little bit. But I also knew that with everybody sitting behind, that somebody back there was going to make a strong move. And I was just trying to mentally like prepare myself to react when that move was made.
Yeah, and I want to say that the pack kind of stayed the same for a while, because I want to say, if I can read the time here. Yeah, so we're past 5K at this point. We're about, I want to say 19 minutes into this. Yeah, no, 16 minutes in. I can't read. Like, I have to squint to read the sign because it's so small. And then, yeah, okay, so this is where Max hits the front. So this is about the 6K mark. This was
so
at,
he's about to surge here.
yeah, this was, I want to say, like, this is because he went to the front, you went behind, and now you can see us as we're going around. We're pretty much at this point now strung out single file.
Because I remember he like surged on this backstretch.
Yeah, when I saw the because this camera stayed in a fixed position for a lot of this race, I remember like watching each time we came through like the start finish area. Like nothing would change, and I would note that. But like in this particular instance, since I noticed we were like 18 or 19 minutes in, I kind of figured like the point was coming to where Max goes to the front, because he was ready to hit the front. I thought at before 5K, because when I went to the rail and you went and passed me back, he came up and he sat on my right shoulder for a long time. And then you reacted, and I want to say this is when everyone else reacted, and I was currently running third, and then I started falling through the front pack. So I went from about third place to about seventh or eighth at the time, and I remember my coach, Coach Joe Eby, and like a lot of the other BW coaches who were standing in the finish area, like they were like, just hang on, just hang in there, remain calm, because I think they saw me inherently start to panic a little bit, because like I wasn't in that position that I was for such a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you reacted like well to that move.
I reacted a little bit well, or not as well as I think I could have. I just that by the time he made that move, my legs were already kind of feeling fatigued from leading through the wind on the backstretch all those laps.
Yeah, so now it's a pack of 5, and it's me racing. I want to say Jamie Arrett from Otterbein, just like desperately trying to keep contact with that group. And I want to say it slowed a little bit in this turn, so I was always able to get back like on the group, and my coaches noted that I'm like famous for this. This is the point where I just like played like the yo-yo game, where like I drop back 30 meters and I come back to the group. I drop back 35 meters, but I still come back to the group. And at that point, like I felt fatigued, and I knew I was really playing a dangerous game at this point, because I kept surging on this first turn just to get back to the group. Because it narrowed out fast. Because Max made that move, and then you responded, and then you guys started playing games and started showing a bit of gamesmanship, just like taking turns at the front. And yeah,
I could see him pulling out, kind of like sitting on my shoulder right there.
Yeah,
Right.
and you
getting ready to make the move. I think it's this lap or the next lap. is when he kind of like slingshots forward into the lead.
Yeah, and you can see like the space that was in between me and Jamie when we came through the finish line. Like I had to work to make that up on the turn because I want to say that was the lap that my coach asked me how bad I actually wanted it, because this is about 20 minutes into the race. And yeah, this is 20 minutes in. And I remember thinking, I only have I have 2.5 miles essentially to figure something out to score points. And I didn't know exactly at the time what I was trying to figure out other than just try and hang on to Jamie for dear life, because Jamie was going to be my ticket to scoring in the top 8.
Okay, so Max has now taken the lead, and he is really late,
yeah,
really
he's surging.
putting the hammer down now.
Yeah, and I'm back here. That's Mount Union's John Bach behind me. I remember he passed me briefly in this race, and that's when my coach got kind of irritated with me. He's like, "You seriously gonna let John Bach go by you? Someone who's making his 10K debut in this race." And that's like when I'm like, okay, I gotta stop like kind of putzing around the track here. I mean, granted, like it was me like running a consistent like 76 or 7 like throughout the whole race until like the last mile or so roughly. But like to this point I was putting down a pretty consistent pace. So I'm like, okay, I got to find a way to get back to Jamie.
Yeah, I forget, how did Jamie finish? Did he finish right behind you in this race?
No, he finished ahead of me. So I want to say, okay, that's Max, and is that Jamie Daly up front?
Yeah, Jamie actually surged past me too, a lap or a lap and a half after Max made his move. So now he's behind Max, and they've kind of created some separation there on me.
Yeah, so I want to say you're sitting third at this point.
Yes.
And I'm still like consistently 30 to 40 meters behind Jamie. And it was Nikita Landis that was in front of Jamie. So like I wasn't necessarily looking at Jamie specifically, but I was trying to look a person ahead of him to see what's going on. Even because what I'll tell you in the last mile or so, when we get to that point, is I started like closing on him. I wanted to run, consistent, because I knew Nikita was falling through the field because he fell way off the pack, and he started free falling fast. So I was looking ahead to look for Nikita to see if he's yep. So Jamie's passed, and here I come up behind Nikita Landis, and I pass him on this turn, and that's when I really realized that I was in business, because the people in front of Nikita, I believe, was lap traffic, but that helped me like kind of close that gap a ton. But yeah, like nothing has really changed up front, as it's Max and Jamie just running as a duo, and then you're running in third, and I think Spencer Schulz from Ohio Northern's in fourth.
Yeah, I think basically after Max made his move and Jamie went with him, I think it kind of just stayed. The top 4 stayed the same the rest of the race, in that order.
Yeah, so there's 1, 2, 3,
and then 4 somewhere right there is right there.
No, he's right there. He's always got a trademark, and it's the orange high socks. So there is Jamie coming through the start finish. I'm about 30 meters behind him. And I want to say to this point, we have less than 2 miles to go. We have about a mile and a half at this point. So at this point, I've passed both mount runners, and I kind of started like looking around to see where I was. And I realized that I was comfortably inside the top 8 because there were 2 mount guys well off my tail. I had passed them, and when I passed them, I surged by them both times. So I'm thinking to myself, I think I'm in a really good position right now. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in the race, I'm like, I still have a chance to win this race. It's gonna take a huge effort though to close the gap at this point. You know, like I said, my legs were already still feeling fatigued. I think my hope was that they both would slow a little bit and I'd be able to kind of attach back on. But I think the gap kind of it stayed the same like length most of the time, except I think over the final lap, it shortened a little bit.
Right. It shortened probably between you and Daly because Max, I remember from watching, he made, I want to say, a pretty massive surge in the last like 600 meters of the race. So right now we have about 26 minutes on the clock. So I want to say next time by we have either 1,200 meters or a mile to go. And I want to say either this time by or next time by, the camera starts following Jamie and Max around the track. If I remember correctly.
I wish they would have moved the camera this entire race, honestly.
It would have made it much easier to watch because we can only tell you what's happening on the back straight, at least from our recollection. Yeah, so there it is. So there's 26:45 on the clock. So we're now inside a mile to go. Because I want to say they ran a 5-minute last 1600. And you can see they're panning around just to kind of like give the view. There's lap traffic up ahead, but we've known that for a while now. But this is like watching this part is my favorite part of the race because like I can point out like who on my team was standing where, because I remember there were 2 of my teammates, Larry and Hastings, that were standing at the top of the far turn over here. You can see we have a bunch of yellow jackets on the infield. Our team camp is on the home curve, like literally sitting in the 100-meter like start area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now Max, it looks like, has a little bit of a gap to this point, a gap of probably no more than 10 meters.
But still, it looks like a fairly decent-sized gap from here.
Yeah, and like I want to say this is where Jamie, who also made his 10K debut in this race, so by no means let what I'm gonna say overshadow this performance. Which, I mean, this is a fucking phenomenal performance for Jamie to begin with for his first 10K. He wore spikes, which I think both of us can agree that that was a very bold choice.
It is, because, you know, if you're, especially, you know, I found the vapor flies to really spare your legs the pounding, you know, especially if you're doing that 5K, 10K double on back-to-back days.
Which we did, and I still have the pair of 4% that I ran this race in.
I actually ended up doing the 4% for the 5K the next day too.
Yeah, because I think I asked you about that. And I'm like, Dude, you really gonna go 4% for the 5K? Because it was pouring the next day.
Yeah, so I was like, swarming up on the infield and debating if I wanted to go spikes or the vapor flies. So I put the vapor flies on and went out on the track and did a few strides just to see how the grip was, and they gripped surprisingly well on the wet track. And I did a few strides. It felt fine. I was like, all right, we're doing this now, I guess.
So now there's 600 meters to go. So there's this 200 and then the last lap. What I love to watch is just like the whole separate like reactions on the infield. Like on the back straight, like you could see Ian and Chase, and this is Ian Kellogg and Chase Hampton. They're all Americans. You can see them. Jacob Thompson too. Like they're running all over the place. So this is Bell Lap here. And I think what Clev does here, like this is really cool. As Max goes by him, you can see Clev like audibly give him support. And you can see him making the hand clap. And
that was really good.
yeah, and what I can pick out, like since I'm about 100 meters behind all this action, is like I can see like all the yellow jackets just like sprinting to certain locations on the track. Like I can see my coach, Larry, Spencer, Zach. I can see like my college teammates like jogging to the back straight to start screaming at me. And here I think Max puts the exclamation point on it. Because he surged it in, and I want to say he did run like a 5-minute last mile. And his reaction here is absolutely priceless. Because what I remember after is my coach told me that like he was cussing like a madman as he crossed the finish because he was still in certain disbelief that like he'd won this conference meet. So he was like he was audibly yelling like what the fuck, holy shit, oh my god, like that whole thing. And hearing that from Coach Freeman and then hearing that from Max the next day, and we had a good old laugh about it, don't get me wrong. But like I just remember like seeing that and I'm like, yeah, like I'd be doing the same thing. So both of us to this point have crossed, and I crossed in 32:18. And I don't know after the race if like you were the first person I went to, because I went to somebody off camera here. And it might have been you. It might have been you or Max. It couldn't have been anybody else at this point.
Yeah, it was just a good feeling, that we went out there, we kind of did what we planned on doing, and obviously the results were how they were, and yeah, it was just like I said, good final conference 10K there.
Yeah, and I mean you could see me briefly talking to Jamie, and I want to say after I talked to Jamie, I crossed paths with you briefly. I got a hug from Coach Freeman, and then was it a Tim Jasper that was up there who told me good job? I can't remember if it was Tim Jasper specifically that was up there, but I'm 90% sure it was. And then I want to say both your coaches congratulated me as well, Brian and Eli.
Yeah, I think it definitely might have been Bim Basper that congratulated you after the race.
It had to be. It had to be, because like I don't think like outside of you and Tim, I talked to anybody else like on that team or knew as much about them. Because I want to say Tim's joined us for a handful of runs down in Cuyahoga Valley. And I just saw my coach cross, and I want to say I regrouped with my teammates off camera, and I want to say my coach congratulated me. He's like, I think he said something along the lines of that was fucking awesome, dude. That was ballsy. Congratulations. That was a really well ran race.
Here comes my roommate right here across the line, and then
Yep.
wait,
No, there it is.
there it is.
Yeah. And what I'm waiting for is like my whole interaction on the infield, because I have an interaction with, I want to say, 5 or 6 separate people. So there's 1, 2. I was really trying. I was trying to go put my trainers on to cool down, and like everybody came over. Larry came over. Zach came over. Throws Coach Supan came over. My teammates who are on the back straight, Hastings came over. I actually lifted Hastings up off the ground. That, I think that in it of itself was probably like the moment where people are like, this dude could run another fucking 5K.
Which is exactly what we did.
Yeah, we did that the next day, and that weather was fucking disastrous. I'll be quite honest.
That's like my preferred race conditions is what we raced in the next day.
I mean, like, I want to say during the 5K, it significantly picked up in rain.
Oh no, it did, but it was nice because I definitely feel like we cooled down quite a bit. Like you stayed cool the whole time. I actually have a picture from there somewhere in here.
It's probably way back, dude. Like, I have so many pictures from this race that are just way back in my camera roll, because this race at this point is like 53 or 54 weeks old. So yeah, but I mean, still, like, this was a phenomenal race. This was my favorite track race, hands down. Oh, good old boy's looking for it.
I swear I have it in here somewhere.
Yeah, while you're looking for that, I'm gonna take the time here to I teased this in the description of my last video, and now I'm actually going to say it because I have 90% of the details pretty much ironed out. I'm not going to waste the fitness that I have, because for those of you who don't follow me on Strava, which if you don't, links in the description below, I would go follow me there, and you get to see what I'm up to running wise on a daily basis. I'm in way too good of a shape to let what I've done to this point go. So I'm going to put myself to the test in a time trial half marathon. Hopefully I can get video of it. If I can't, it is what it is because of the nature of the situation. And I have, as it stands right now, I have Austin as one of the 4 pace setters, along with 3 other stupidly fast guys. We have 2 guys from University of Akron, and we have a guy who ran at Bowling Green, who's a 14-15 guy. And man, I can't tell you how excited I am for that time trial, because I think it's going to go phenomenally well based on some of the workouts that I've done in recent weeks here.
I couldn't find it.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. What a letdown.
No, seriously, like I thought like it was gonna be right there, and I looked through all my pictures from that track season, and I'm like, it's not in here. So I'm at a loss right now.
So the other thing that I remember from that 5K is it was you, me, and Max just like chatting at the 5K start area after the race, and pretty much sharing like post race pleasantries and whatnot. Like, because granted, Max was gonna see you in the fall, but you didn't have another track season, and we pretty much just like sat there and kind of reminisced and chatted about like how fun like college track has been. I mean, granted, it's not like the big bright lights of Eugene, Oregon, or Austin, Texas, or Palo Alto, California. It's Columbus, Ohio, Division III, Ohio Athletic Conference. I felt like no different than like that this was Division 1. There's definitely in Division 3 there's a wider talent pool, but you know running is running at the end of the day. And I mean, like these were probably like some of the best guys. This was probably the I want to say the best field depth wise that both of us have run in.
The 5K?
10 and 5, because a lot of the 10K guys doubled back and ran the 5. But like depth wise, I want to say like the group that we had in this weekend in time in 2019, I want to say that was probably like the deepest group that the conference has seen in a long, long time.
I think so too, just because, typically in most years past, besides Muskingum in 2016, usually like a 15-minute flat would win you the conference, if not get you in the top three. And in this race particular, there were the top six were all under 15 minutes, which I don't think we've seen that in a very long time at the OAC conference meet.
Yeah, and I mean, and it was a group of guys who ran the 10K the night before. So like Max was in there, you were in there. I want to say Schulz was back in there. Like it was pretty much like your top 10 from the 10K, and then a bunch of other people who were a bit fresher than you or I.
Well, I mean, obviously a lot of those guys like Ian, McVeigh, Chase, and a lot of those guys ran the 1500 before the 5K, but I've never done the 1500 5K double on the same day, so I don't know how much the 1500 may have taken out of them. And then, plus Chase had the steeplechase the night before.
Yeah, I mean, different people are coming from different events, and it's different stresses. Like I think 10K, 5K, like when you do that, those are your more aerobic races on the track. And when you do 1500 5K, you're working two different systems. So while yes, your muscles might be sore, like you're still working on a completely separate system when you run a 5K compared to a 1500. At least that's how I look at it.
No, I would agree. I would agree with that 100%.
And I mean, in college, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you studied a lot of stuff like this in order to try and become a GA and eventually down the line become a coach.
Yes, I did take a lot of classes in exercise science and strength and conditioning, kind of learning about the different energy systems and stuff like that.
That's what I thought, but I want to say that'll do it. Austin, thanks so much for jumping on, man. This was a lot of fun to record, and it's going to be a lot of fun to put up on the YouTube channel. Because I like I said, I haven't done anything like this, and it's in it of itself, it's like a little podcast of sorts.
Yeah, thanks
Except,
for having me on, Spence. I was actually really excited when you kind of You brought the idea to my mind, and I honestly didn't know this video existed until about a few days ago until you told me. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, next one we might as well react to the regional cross country championship because I have that as well.
We
Eh,
definitely, yeah, we definitely got it. We definitely got to react to that one.
I want to say that one. I mean, we'll talk a lot more about it in that video. That one was it's a lot more cut down because I have one of my teammates with my phone running around the field, and it's hard to record all 25 minutes of a race unless you're sitting on the lead carts, which
Hmm.
you're not, and he wasn't. So like it's still I still got a lot of the race, but like I think this one for both of us hits a bit different. I mean, considering that like I was someone who preferred cross country in the 10K uh before the 5K. And I think you're someone who's in the same boat.
I would say I like the 10K cross country and the 5K equally. I like those
Okay.
three events, I would say.
Okay, but we'll save all that discussion for that video. Again, dude, thanks so much for hopping on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Spence. I
Yeah,
will see you in the morning for this long run we're about to crush.
yeah. Hopefully, we're not running fucking 5:20 pace at mile 5 like we did last week.
Well, mile 6 though this time.
Okay, Miles. I might as well bring my next percents, dude.
Hey, Oliver did so.
Yeah, I mean, he also said he was feeling horrible, so
He said he was feeling horrible, but then he kind of encouraged Noah and Andre to pick the pace up. So,
yeah, dropping me in the process.
and Steve-O,
Rip.
R.I.P. in peace.
Yeah. Again, thanks so much, guys, for watching. This has been a lot of fun. This is definitely a video that we're going to do again with the cross country regional meet, as that's, I want to say, the only other race that I have pretty much almost in its entirety on film. So Austin and I will see you for that one. Deuces.
Later.